enabling a safe circular economy, where we enable communities, industry, and government to actively participate. And that third pillar is really where this work has been born from. And so one of the actions that Beth and Tara and Liz and the Circular Connections team are doing is to fund and deliver the circular economy pilot. The point of the pilot, what it's supposed to do is what it's been delivering is the accelerated training so far, the circular economy workshops, and access to a panel of circular economy experts that you can really tap into. I just wanted to emphasize that panel of experts is available, and it's available to anyone that's attended one of the pilot events. And so really encourage you to utilize them if you can. Just reach out to the team. They've been more than happy to help you with the next steps and how to access that. Based on the feedback that you've all provided so far from the first phase of the pilot, we've set up this circular economy network. The network's got 3 features. The first is the discussion forum tab, which you've seen. It's great to see some of you already engaging in that. I've seen Chris, who I don't know if he's on today, and some others posting on that for the last couple of weeks. So that's great. The second is the resource library, where you can upload and access shared files. You'll see in there already is the terms of reference Elizabeth has added. It's under the tile getting started with the circular economy networks. You should be able to find the terms of reference there. And the third element is the series of online events. The events, we really want to focus in on the topics you've told us you want to learn more about. Things like circular procurement, circular hubs, and engaging with stakeholders. For now, you'll see that what's in there is these 4 events, starting with today and running up through till June. So just to reiterate, it's great having you all here today. Thank you very much. Please extend the invite to these meetings to your colleagues at council so they can join the network and come along to these events as they happen. We're really keen to get your feedback to help us refine the program as we go. If you have any feedback on the format, the content, how we administer it, please, again, just get in touch with the team or reach out to me. That's fine. Really excited to have you here, Annie. Thank you very much for facilitating these sessions. Annie's a leader in the circular economy space, complete understanding of the circular economy in Australia. So I'll hand back to you, Annie. I hope everyone enjoys the session, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for the introduction. Amazing. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen okay? Thank you, Sam. Basically, the Circular Economy Network for Local Government is a network for all of us to connect, collaborate, and share all circular economy knowledge. Through this, we have a series of meetings about circular economy related topics. The network is really to, as Sam mentioned, to provide a learning space to help increase local government circular economy knowledge, capacity, and access to information as well. I also want to thank you, EPS leadership, to support this project. Just quickly to show us agenda for today. We will begin with presentations from our speakers, followed by some discussion and breakout room sessions. But before I'm going to invite our speakers, I just want to have a bit quick overview what's happening for the next few months. Basically, we have 4 meetings. There are about 6 weeks apart. The meeting topics and case studies have been shaped by the surveys and feedback from all of you guys online here and also local government staff. And the topics are mainly focused on local government's role in a circular economy, including place-based circular economy, which we're going to cover some of that today, and data, procurement, circular economy hubs, and precinct. And some of them already had asked questions last week in C101, particularly around that circular economy stakeholder engagement from internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. Additionally, through all this pre-work, we have about 10 councils have volunteered to share their circular economy project and case studies. If you like to share your project, please feel free to reach out to me. I will be facilitating the network discussion and hosting 4 online meetings from now until July. I will, these slides and all topics I will share in the network in the next couple of days. And today is our first meeting. I'm excited. I hope you are all excited as well. And then today is basically have some grounding to establish that network and also look at the network governance place-based circular economy. And we have case studies from circular economy data portal and circular economy roadmap, etc. And today we're excited to have 3 incredible circular economy leaders with us to share their insights on all things circular. I want to say big thank you to Rebecca, Nicole, and Haley for your time and the leadership in advancing the circular economy within your community and local government area. And thank you so much to all of you guys. Before I'm going to introduce our first speaker, here are a few quick housekeeping or guidelines, if you like. Firstly, we have each speaker will present their topic, followed by a quick Q&A session. We will then move on to next speaker. If you have any questions, you can do 2 things. Firstly, type in the chat. We will do our best to address all the questions during the meeting. If we run out of time, I will follow up with the speakers and summarize all the answers and post in the network for you review. And secondly, if you prefer to ask questions directly, like myself, please raise your hands during the Q&A session. So let's get started. Our first speaker is Rebecca. Rebecca, are you there in case you have to run out for the fire alarm? Her topic is about circular economy data portal. And I won't read all her amazing bio, but I want to share a fun fact about Rebecca. She is a singer in an original rock band called Express and Access. I actually Googled it yesterday and played that song in the office. It's pretty amazing. I will put that band on the chat in a minute. Rebecca, are you online? I'm going to hand over to you. Or she's running out.
Can't
you there?
see
okay.
her, yeah.
All right. She mentioned she has some fire emergency in the building. So Nicole, are you happy to go next?
Yeah, that's fine, Annie. No problem.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Again, I'm not going to read the bio, Nicole. Nicole's topic is about network governance for place-based circular economy. As we all know, localized circular economy is quite important, particularly for all the local government area. And one fun fact about Nicole, salsa dance brings her immense joy. So I'm going to hand over to you, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Annie. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat this morning, so apologies. Have my water handy. I'll just share my screen, Annie, if that's okay.
Yes, please go ahead. Oh, I need to stop sharing mine, isn't it? Okay, got
it. Excuse me. Does that work for everyone? Can that be seen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Thanks. I'm just going to put my thing on hold for a sec. Hang on. My apologies. I have been talking already this morning, so I'm not sure where that's come from. But anyway, thank you to Elizabeth, to Annie and the team for inviting me to contribute to your program. It sounds really exciting. And I think it's, as Annie was saying, the leadership of the EPA to support this is really fantastic and provides a great learning platform for other states to follow. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands where I'm joining from today, the Jagera and the Turrbal people, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So again, it's great to be here and thank you for inviting me. So my agenda today for this session, I've got 6 points to cover. Brief who am I, fundamentals of circular economy, because I'm going to make the assumption, and I know from Annie's conversation that you already have some fundamentals. So a few quick points from me. And then exploring this concept of what is network governance and how does that apply in local contexts. And I've got an international case study and some local case studies as well. And then some suggested first steps if you want to actually dive in more into the network governance approach. So to start with, I've really cut my teeth in this sector by the privilege and pleasure of living in Barbados in the Caribbean for 8 years. I've been in the waste management and circular economy space for 22 years, I think it is this year. And it really did grow from community waste education, community environmental education, developing a number of particularly waste management and recycling initiatives during that time, and really introducing myself to the importance of working with networks, which of course links to today. I then completed a PhD in plastic food and beverage packaging material value chains to identify innovation. And then I've also done work in community waste management in countries like Bangladesh. And the thing that I've learned that applies in the context of where you're sitting in councils is that scale and logistics are really critical in being able to have success of, particularly of recovery projects, or of any project really. The more scale you have, the easier it is to organise logistics, and of course the more cost-effective logistics can be. And I don't need to spend any more time telling all of you that. But particularly for remote and regional areas in Australia, I've found that my research and my experiences over much of these last 20 plus years really highlights that in order to create opportunities and capitalise on those opportunities, that people need to work together. So that's a little bit about me. Fundamentals of circular economy. This is a slide that I've taken from Annie's presentation. And where this has come from, it's really quite exciting because the International Standards Organization released the first circular economy standard last year, a suite of standards, 59,000. And it's beautiful to see that we now have an agreed global definition of what circular economy is. So for the previous more than 10 years, I think we got up to more than 230 definitions of what a circular economy is. So it's really quite exciting to see that we now have an agreed ISO definition that people can work towards. I want to just highlight the one particular word in this definition, and that is resources, because it is about a circular flow of resources that is predominantly the focus of a circular economy. I really like this definition because it also brings in sustainable development, which of course a lot of the literature on circular economy seems to exclude or at least limit the importance of having social outcomes and social interactions within the circular economy. Resources, of course, we're talking about all of these, anything that comes from the natural world. And so in this case, we're talking about material flows and very much around material efficiency. Again, this is from Annie's slides, the R's and the C's of the ISO standard. So previous to the ISO standard coming out, we might have grown up with the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. And over the years that has been extended. We tend to refer to the 10 R's, and I'll show you a slide on that in a second. But ISO have expanded that again and added in a few C's as well. So, but it really, these ladders of circularity really help to identify how does this translate to what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. This is my preferred ladder of circularity. It's 10 R's, and it's from our friend in the Netherlands, Professor Jacqueline Kramer, who came to visit us in Australia in 2022. Some of you may have come across some of her work. And just to highlight that recycling is number 9 on the list. And so what I'll be talking about with my presentation today is some of these higher R strategies that really engage with products and decision making as well around products in those higher R ladder, I wanted to, I'm just going to plug my computer in. I wanted to also raise why we're talking about circular economy in cities and regions. And I really love this definition from the OECD because it really captures that that cities and regions are the places where people live, work, consume, and also dispose of their products. And it really, to actually have success in a circular economy, it really requires setting the right governance and enabling environmental framework. So cities and regions and all of the roles that you have in ensuring the productivity of those regions is really critical in achieving a circular outcome. So what is network governance? The theme of the presentation today. Network governance obviously has two words, network. I'm not going to read these out word for word, but you'll see the highlighted green words there. So it's about people, it's about exchanging ideas, building relationships, working together, sharing power, solving problems. Now, how does this differ to what we might do otherwise in really collaborative projects? I think the section that we've got here on governance, it really works to providing a much stronger framework around how decisions are made, potentially how issues might be resolved, and how those interactions are managed with authority or with rules, and ensuring that there are outcomes that is both for public learning, but also developing civic and political will. So bringing those two together, again, I'll refer to our friend, Professor Jacqueline Kramer. Jacqueline's definition in one of her books, and I'll share the links with those to you at the end. But it really is about developing these coalitions of partners, coalition of the willing, people who are willing to contribute to transformative change, and in this case, to achieve a circular economy. So when we talk about network governance in the context of circularity, we really are looking at how do we develop those groups of organizations, of individuals, perhaps as well contributing to that, and how do we work together? What are the structures? What is the governance structure of how those decisions are made as a collective for the outcome of developing circularity? Jacqueline has a fantastic image here, and because we often hear, of course, we have policies, and that's the traditional public governance model. But what we're saying here is that that still exists, and it absolutely is critical that we have those policies and public governance in place. But it's really about branching out and to look at the number of stakeholders that can really add value to the decision making that happens within a local area. And you'll see some of the points there that Jacqueline focuses in on. So that involvement, what are the drivers? What sort of leadership are we having, both from government and also arguably major industry within the local area? And what's the receptivity? How are people actually engaged in this? Do they have an interest? Is there a general consensus that this is a good thing for the local area? Who is involved? I think this is a really wonderful example of, again, taken from one of Jacqueline's books. We've got key actors, and there's 4 groups of actors there with highlighting who are really quite critical in creating these opportunities. So again, you've got government actors that to help create the preconditions on the bottom left-hand side there. But you've also got government to take a role in socio-cultural changes. Arguably, you've also got government contributing to market creation, particularly in the context of procurement. Government can really set the basic foundations and framework of what they expect to be able to procure from their local environments. And I think this is a really important element, and I'll come back to that in a couple of minutes. But the piece in the middle is the system orchestration. This is this central role to actually bring all of these elements, these actors together, and not just the actors, but the functions that they hold within the actual network to create those outcomes. And the system orchestration role that Jacqueline refers to is a term that's becoming quite interesting, called a transition broker. And I'll come back to that in a second. But these are some of the functions that would have been on that previous slide, who those actors are, and some examples of some system building activities that can be considered under a network governance approach. Again, this might not necessarily be anything that's rocket science to you. You might be thinking, but we already do that, Nicole. That's great, fantastic. What this offers through the network governance lens is another way to look at and provide structure to the approach that's taken to adopt circular activities within your region. And I'll come back to those lists as I provide the case studies. But this concept of a transition broker system orchestration, it really is, and again, talking about the Netherlands, we draw a lot on the Netherlands. They are a great case study of being able to put circular economy in practice. Certainly since 2016, they have had a national policy on circular economy, and we've seen that policy morph and transition. But really importantly, to create even the steps that they have done now and the success they've already achieved, they've really identified that to create these successful initiatives, that this concept of transition broker to orchestrate that network engagement and those network outcomes is really quite critical. To the point, for example, where at the national level in the Netherlands, there's an SME program that exists where SMEs can apply to be accepted into a support program, I guess like a funding program, a grant program. But in order for those organisations to be successful, the organisation must accept that there would be a transition broker to actually support and orchestrate the delivery of that project. So you can really see that having a transition broker at that top level as almost as a requirement to actually enable and to generate the circular outcomes that you need is really quite an innovative way of approaching it. There's some key competencies that Jacqueline, through her research over many years, has identified, and this certainly is found in other areas of research too. But one of the really important things is that what's shown is that the person or the organisation that represents that role really does need to have an element of independence. So being driven by, for example, an association who might have members, that association could be considered a transition broker because they might be influencing, they might be a knowledge holder. But there would be some level of influence from their membership as to what they could and couldn't do. In the Circular Economy Ministerial Advisory Group final report called the Circular Advantage that was released in December last year, there's quite a bit of information and reference to transition brokers, particularly from a place-based approach in regions to adopt circular economy activities. So it's really something that it's worthwhile reading more about. And I see that in some ways councils and certainly the folks within council in economic development, potentially also in waste management, can really take an important role to identify, are we being a transition broker in this particular activity? So something to think about. Now, how do we do this? If we look at network governance and the approach that's needed, again, perhaps nothing necessarily rocket sciencey, but as I say, we're providing that sort of overarching framework. And these are some of the 4 steps that Jacqueline has recommended. First, we need a vision, a strategy, and an ambition of what's actually going to be achieved. And ambition doesn't necessarily need to get hung up on clear and identifiable metrics from the outset. Those things can also come based on her experience. But really important is to identify who in your area is actually this coalition of the willing to actually explore new business models. Also important is creating that societal support. And so you find, particularly around repair and being able to create a community engagement around circular approaches, really helps to scale up initiatives within that local area. And of course, all of these things can help stimulate knowledge and help really to identify innovation that can take place within the particular council area or perhaps within the region that you sit. And of course, it's not all roses. There are barriers to adopting transformational change when it comes to network governance. And again, many of these would be familiar to you, but it's to say that it's when you come up against these barriers, there are ways around it. And again, I'd refer you to Jacqueline's publications to help identify how some of her challenges have been addressed. She's got some really great case studies in there. And talking about case studies, I've got a few here. One's from the metropolitan region of Amsterdam. Now, circular economy can be done in lots of ways. Circular economy is often circular economy equals recycling. But what I've done here is I've actually chosen specific case studies that are pushing beyond the regular conversation around how to adopt recycled content within your local council area or to how to improve recycling initiatives. This one does reference recycling and reuse. And again, you can read more about it within Jacqueline's book. But the first element is actually from the metropolitan region of Amsterdam, and they've really gone strongly on circular procurement as a region, really to start to generate a market demand for circular products and services. What they started with was products that council actually needed to use or that were already under management by council, and they really looked at identifying what services and products could council procure to identify or to link to circular outcomes, have higher value use of products, longer use of products, durability, all those words that we know about from circular economy. And what they did was, here in this case, we're talking about a region, but they were actually able to build that scale that I mentioned from the outset. So having that connection amongst organisations and amongst regions can really help with that. Again, circular procurement was really one of their key drivers for change. They changed their policies to really demand that suppliers were providing solutions that could redesign the current status quo. Those products that were focused on environmental impact to start with, but there were other opportunities to adopt social outcomes as well. The other thing they did was to look at high value recycling and reuse in 9 particular streams. I'm not going to go into all of these, but it gives you an idea again of where, if you haven't already identified particular material or product streams that you find quite a bit of within your local area, you could really start to adopt and have conversations with those suppliers and manufacturers and processors to really explore what could we really do. One quick example that I've learned about from Hume City Council in Victoria, they have a lot of caravan manufacturers in their local area. So they've been doing quite a bit with that particular sector, for example, to adopt circular principles. And speaking of Hume City Council, they've taken an economic development approach to their circular development. And again, I'm referencing those key actors and functions on the right-hand side. What Hume has done is actually really taken a full system and local area approach. They had some research done by KPMG to really identify and build within council, that coalition of the willing within council itself, to identify where the opportunities lay within their local council area. So they're really providing, their role in this is really providing that local economic development piece. And what they did was they were able to show some really interesting and exciting numbers. So for them, this particular study showed that if they transitioned to a circular city, not just a resource recovery city, but a circular city, they could actually grow their regional GRP by $900 million in respect to a 2020 baseline. And jobs could have been increased by 1,500. So you can see that they've actually done the numbers and looked at what does it offer for the Hume City Council. So that's an economic development example. We also have procurement from the City of Greater Geelong. Geelong has taken the approach of procurement driving innovation. In this case, they have actually used age-defying bridges as their focus project. So they've actually gone about engaging with local suppliers for council procurement, economic development teams as well to help with the testing of design and the implementation. And that design brief really required local suppliers with limited ability to maintain. They needed to maintain over the course of the lifetime of the bridges. And these bridges were in all of their council recreation areas. They started with 2, and it was a really great opportunity to really build market demand. So that was the role of council in that one. And Bega Valley, you might be familiar with Bega Valley. Perhaps there's somebody from Bega Valley on the call. If you are, I'm giving you the shout out. I really love this image, which I've stolen from the Bega Circular Valley website. What I love here is that this is very much an all of system and all of region engaging with community and organisations that have a focus predominantly on agriculture, but they've really taken it across the community to be a council being an enabler in this particular example. It is about designing out waste, but it really is focused on creating that economic development, creating that network across council, and providing the highlights of opportunities where perhaps people didn't see them before. So for New South Wales Council's place-based circularity, I've taken this map from a project that was done in Queensland. And what this has done is actually taken textiles, people in the textiles value chain, and mapped where they're located in the different parts of the chain to really identify where can they play, what role can council play in agglomerating those particular players within that chain to develop the scale. How can you move ahead? There are some questions that potentially you could be asking around what products are coming into your local area. Are there products being manufactured? What is already being, and again, to build that scale. And there are some steps to start an action plan there, which I'll leave you with. Of course, you'll have copies of these slides as following this event. And there's also some preconditions for change, which again, it's useful to keep in mind as you start on your journey with that action plan, and to support those areas of conditions. Again, 10 guiding principles for network governance. I'm going to leave you with this, and I've also got the link to Jacqueline's book at the end. It's a fantastic opportunity to read through these steps based on her example around sparking the transition, understanding that context is key, and how to actually adopt or ensure that there's successful implementation. So some potential next steps for you, review this presentation, have a read of Jacqueline's book, start some conversations if you're not already, and really to look at developing and identifying the opportunities that sit within your local area, depending on your context. And unless somebody like you cares a whole lot in this current context, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So you're all here because you care an awful lot, and I'm excited to be supporting those efforts within all of you. So I'll leave it there and take some questions.
Thank you, Nicole. That's amazing. Any questions, please feel free to raise your hands or type questions in the chat. But I want to ask 2 questions. First, I'm going to start. Sorry, guys, I got the power. The first question probably to all the people online. From Nicole shared an example of Hume City, look at from economic development point of view, look at circular economy and circular city. My question to everybody on this call, is any council on this call also look at that from economic side of circular economy in your local government area? That's something I personally quite interested in and want to see more of that happening in circular economy space. I know Sydney Water started the conversation to really look at the economic side of the circular economy. If anybody on this call are doing this, please reach out or share your case studies here with everybody. And second question, probably to Nicole, is that, by the way, Nicole, I posted that Jacqueline's book link on the chat for everybody already.
Thanks, Annie. I should also add, sorry, I didn't show the last slide. The last slide in my deck has 7 different resources, Jacqueline's 2 books, the National Framework, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a bunch of stuff there that you can have a read of as well, with all the links.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, Eleanor, well done. My second question too is firstly, I think from Circular Advantage, the report really encourage everybody to read it, because as a place-based circular economy, that transitioning broker, it's been used a number of times. I already see some local government that use the philosophy of a transitioning broker in the circular economy and implement that into the local government area. And then in your presentation, you quite emphasized so much on the procurement. Have you seen any local government have joined force or aligned with their other stakeholders or joined councils to establish that circular procurement?
The examples that I've drawn on mostly are from Victoria, as you know. So please feel free, if any of you have great examples, feel free to send them through. I'd love to promote you in any of the events that I'm speaking to, because this is where I draw information from. But I would say that the City of Greater Geelong has done a great job in not just for their own local council area, but really influencing the councils that sit around them to adopt this same procurement for innovation approach. I would probably say that the example that came out of the City of Greater Bendigo when Scott was there, he's no longer at that council, but he actually developed a really practical procurement policy for council, which saw the councils around his local area also adopting something similar. So I think, like anything, it takes one person to be brave and have the courage to start, and then others can really get that confidence and build and have that conversation. Your area, Annie, in the Hunters is really, there's so much that's been done in the Hunter region over the last 5 years. There's so many great examples to take from there as well. So I think that there are having conversations, and certainly networks like this really provides that safe space to share your examples, because everyone can improve. Put it out there. Don't feel like if it's not perfect, it's not going to be shared. Or it shouldn't be shared. It should be, because everybody in a safe space like what you've created here can really have those contributions to only improve what's available and really create that stronger transition.
Wonderful, amazing. Speak of the leader. Over to you, Yvette.
Thanks, Annie. Hi, Nicole. Yvette from the Illawarra Shoalhaven. Yeah, great. Nice to see you again. That was a great presentation. Really highlighted some fantastic integrated approaches there. And I guess my question is, from your experience, what is the best way, or what is a way that we can, I guess, drive that network leadership group to have buy-in and progress initiatives?
From what I'm seeing and hearing, particularly in this current climate, find things that happen to be circular that will also save money. Certainly this sort of cost of living crisis broadly, which obviously, councils have fixed incomes as well. And again, that's probably nothing new to you as well, Yvette. You're probably going, yeah, we've tried that. But I think that from the perspective of, at the end of the day, one of the rationales that people say, why is the circular economy gaining legs when sustainability kind of is, yes, it had a crescendo, but it's kind of languishing a bit. It's got economy in it. I mean, it sounds really basic and simple, but it talks about money and it talks about resource efficiency. So if it's not necessarily a money earner, but it can also be a resource earner. So if you're able to, for example, with the procurement policy that Scott developed, one of the requirements from that policy was to, as part of the tender process, was to actually provide the opportunities for that particular solution to provide repair, like you needed to provide repair or maintenance if you were providing an actual product to council. And so by doing that, it might require a lot of convincing upfront that having those kinds of requirements within a tender that's just adding extra stress or extra challenge to the organisations who are providing the service. But at the end of the day, it's saving money council, because you don't have to then go out and buy new products every 3 years or every 5 years, because you're actually able to maintain them under contract with that particular supplier. So it's putting your systems thinking cap on from an economic perspective, and not just the upfront immediate dollars and cents, but the longer term dollars and cents to identify where the opportunities can lie to save resource and money. Don't know. That's probably a long-winded answer to your question, Yvette. And I know you've tried lots of different things where you are, but that's my takeaway for you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Yvette.
Thank you. Thank you. Great conversation. Thank you, Nicole. It's really, we need everybody on board to move on this journey together. Thank you. Just to conserve time, is it Rebecca? Are you back, Rebecca? No. If she's not
back, can you hear me?
Oh, you're there. Okay. Sorry, I just have the women's screen there. Yes, I can hear you. Are you ready to go ahead?
I think so.
Yes. So when you're ready, please feel free to share your screen. And then after Rebecca's presentation, we have Q&A and a quick tea break. And then we move to Haley. Over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Annie, and thank you for having me here today to share this project that we've had the opportunity to work on. Some of the people online today I've had the opportunity to work with before, but for those who don't know me, I'm the project lead for the Regional Resource Recovery team in the Ramjo region. I like to share a little bit about myself so you have some context around why I advocate for certain projects and I guess considerations from our funding bodies. So I'm from a very rural area in northeast country Victoria, from a small town called Gurumbat, which I'm sure none of you have ever heard. It's a one street, one pub, one school kind of town, and it's nearest to Benalla. And if you don't know where that is, I like to tell people it's Ned Kelly country, and sometimes people can relate to that a bit better. But in these kind of communities, I like to sort of communicate that sometimes the people who live in these communities sometimes don't have a high level of education, old-fashioned attitudes. Their, attitude to things like climate change is that it just doesn't exist, and they're very resistant to change. So I guess from a perspective of, the councils that I support, the people who live and work in these communities don't typically get to knock off from their job. They're the council worker by day, and by night they're having dinner at the pub with the people that they're having to support in the community. They're footy coaches, they're kids' school teachers, like there's no end to it. So when we're putting changes in place, I like, for people to understand that we need to support our council employees in a regional setting. But I also like to share that I have a business background. I spent quite a few years working for state government, natural resources and environment very early in my career in a finance-related role. But then I worked for many years as a self-employed filmmaker and photographer. And working for yourself is tough when you don't have a guaranteed paycheck. And so when we are wanting businesses to consider new activities, we need to make sure we're making it as easy as possible for them to be circular and not make it harder for them. We have some businesses here in our region who are doing great things, but there's low demand, and it's very hard for them to be cost competitive against an international market. So I'd just like to share that with you, and then I will start my presentation about the circular economy portals. So can you all see that? Great. Sorry, just making sure, here we go. So that's the Ramjo region, the Riverina and Murray. So we cover quite a bit of land in New South Wales. We have 13 councils, and we cover about 120,000 square kilometres of varying populations, resources and priorities. And some of those roads between towns are very long and not much in between. So further to, I guess, my introduction and what specific challenges we face in regional areas. So yes, high transportation costs. Some of our cities are 6 hours apart in transit time, and even longer to a capital city. Lack of infrastructure. It just doesn't exist in most areas of our region. Some of our councils are really struggling with resources. They have issues with trying to fill roles when they're so remotely located. the old-fashioned attitudes that I discussed earlier, and that landfilling can be cheaper than recycling. So how can we help overcome these barriers? So there is a circular economy app that's out there, and some of you would be aware of, called the Aspire platform. So I went on and had a trial of this technology, and there's many wonderful aspects to this technology. However, for a regionally based council or business, it is not really effective. There is very limited data on there for regional areas. It is subscription based, and it only includes data from businesses who've signed up. So in our area, that is zero. And also there is a high cost for councils and large organisations to sign up to the platform. So it just doesn't really meet regional needs. So we, Ramjo, had the opportunity to trial the CE Data Portal through the $1 million grant from the Transport New South Wales Innovation Fund. The developer is Peclet Software. They're a French company. And our role in the trial was testing the system, data validation, and providing some recommendations. So the data portal is a predictive model. So basically, I like to describe this as, in France, if there's a bakery with 10 employees, the likelihood of their waste outputs being similar to a bakery in Albury with 10 employees is very similar. So there's over 1 million businesses in the European French model that they have been able to model our data from. There were some challenges in data validation because there is a number of data sources that Peclet uses, including Australian business data. And sometimes the actual business location is not what the business is registered as, and the name is not always registered as the trading name. So we had to work through those, and we didn't probably fully complete, get it to a point where we were 100% satisfied, but it was a good example of what would need to be considered in future trials. So once we had the portal up and running, we were able to engage a few members of our business community in the region. And Forest One was a business who we knew were seeking pallets to convert into a laminate product. And they were looking for quite a high volume. I think it was up to 40,000 tonnes a year. And so we were able to get them onto the data portal, and they were able to start independently searching for that material across the region themselves. Another business that I'm sure you're all familiar with, GoTerra, we were also able to connect them to the portal so that they could look for opportunities to expand their services across our region. So I'm going to run a video for you, which I'll try and talk through as it goes, which is a demonstration of the portal. So just bear with me. Oh dear. Hopefully that is playing for you all. So this is the portal, and I've expanded just so you can see where we are in the region, and I'm zooming into Albury. And all those little black dots are the businesses that are registered on the portal. And if you were to click on a black dot, it gives you some information about the business and what waste outputs they have. And as you can see there, there's on the right a list of tonnages as well, annual tonnages. This is, of course, all predictive and estimates. In the middle of Albury, I'm just clicking on another example. They've got paper, glass, PET, and a range of things. So looks like I am zooming out and going to show you how you can search for a particular waste item. So you can concentrate on an area. And as you can see, there's a number of level 1, 2, and 3 materials that you can search by. So in this example, I've gone to organics, kitchen waste, and if you want to drill down further, you can do so. Down the bottom, it can give you an actual list. So if you're wanting to look at who's your highest waste contributors, you can see there that the Corowa Club has 13.8 tonnes of organic food waste per year. And there's also some information there if you want to be able to contact the club directly. It links to their website. So I'm just cancelling that search there. And just unclicking everything to take you to the next search. So as you can see, that's the producers of waste. So I'm going to unclick that and then go to what they call takers of waste. So you can look at where you can find someone who can process waste for you. So in this scenario, I'm looking at composters. In Wagga, there is CarbonMate, and if you want to click on their website, you can do so. So if you were looking for a place to take your organics, you could potentially make that connection independently yourself. Another example is metal recyclers. Down in the Corowa region, we have D&M scrap metal. So you can also make direct contact with them if your business was producing scrap metal. Just remembering what I did next, sorry. So this is also potential takers of waste. So it may not be confirmed that they are taking waste materials or processing waste materials, but it is identified through the type of business that they are and what they're manufacturing, that they could potentially take that particular product type. In this example, it's plastics. So these are local manufacturers in Albury, and some of them do, in fact, are working on recycling plastic. I think I am going to demonstrate just briefly the heat maps. So this can also help you identify where there's large volumes of a material type. Obviously, Albury is the highest populated city in the Ramsjo Council. So I guess if you're looking at a glance at where there's a high volume of material, that could help any potential industry coming in or manufacturers looking to work with a particular product type and identify a suitable area to do that. So yeah, as you can see, there's quite a number of material types that we can search on. And again, this is a trial. So, our software developer, Pecklet's been fantastic and very open to adjustments and, ways to improve functionality and the information on there so that it's useful. So the benefits of this model. So again, trying to make it easier for businesses to be able to become more circular. Having unrestricted data is, I think, very important. It removes any barriers so that they can get in and start researching, and, we could potentially have a self-sustaining, business community in the future. It also will help with better future planning, as I said, identifying opportunities and a collaboration. There could be some risks, of course. There may potentially be concerns over businesses having their data online, and that's something we may have to work through. But there could be some possible mitigation strategies, such as maybe putting in opt-in privacy controls or having it as anonymous data. So our recommendations have been that we continue to expand the data on the portal in a staged approach to hopefully have all of New South Wales data on there in the future. We also think it's really important that we have business engagement as a part of this project in future, and to actually train businesses in circular economy principles, but also in their use of the portal and how they can get the most out of it. And also considerations around enhancing the portal functionality. As I said, the Aspire platform is great. It has the ability for businesses to transact and communicate with each other directly. That's something I think could be a really great tool in future trials for the portal. So that's all I have for now, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's amazing. Please feel, oh yeah, Eleanor, hand over to you.
Hi.
Love it. Go first.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Rebecca. It's a really great presentation. I've seen Pestlet demonstrated before, so it was great to hear about actual usage and trial of it. Once the portal is set up, what do you see as the key role for councils in managing that portal? Is it mostly communicating with businesses and getting them to use it? Is it sort of monitoring the data? Like, do you see it as a big workload for individual councils or JOs to administer this thing ongoing?
I wouldn't say a large workload, and I think, the initial trial helped identify, I guess, some of the work that PECLA would need to do in future expansions in the first instance. But yeah, definitely I think councils could play a very important role in business engagement. Obviously, our economic development teams have great relationships with the business community. People have asked me who should be responsible for funding access to this portal. I personally think it would be great if at state level that was supported. But I definitely think local government have a role in, on the ground working with businesses. We know who our businesses are. We know who our people are. As I said, regional areas are very different to metropolitan areas. So, but our time spent in validating some of that data was not lots. We might have spent a few days on going through it. And as I said, we could have probably spent some more. But again, this was only an initial trial.
Thank you, Rebecca. Peter, hey, over to you.
Hi, thanks so much, Rebecca. Sorry, you might have said this and I missed it, but could you clarify how the data was sourced for all those businesses? That looks like a huge workload to me, and also then maintaining the currency of it as well.
Sure. So I don't have 100% all the information, but PECLET did purchase some data sets from the Australian Business Register, I believe Google. Bintrim data was also provided. So there are some, similarities with the Bintrim platform as well. However, there are way more material types available on the Pecklet data platform, and also the number of businesses is significantly higher. So in terms of a data refresh, I think we would perhaps be looking at an annual or biannual data refresh. And the cost has been relatively low for our region that's been quoted. I think, forgive me, I think it might be at around $7,000 for our region. And, I think that that's quite affordable for what could be a very useful tool for the business community to start doing, some real circular activities.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. I think there is one question in the chat. I think by Councillor Didier. I hope I say your name right. Rebecca, do you find that some businesses really don't really know their amount of material or the waste stream, leading to some inaccuracy on the data portal?
Yes, so I've had a little bit of involvement in we have a bin trim program here at the moment, and certainly going out with our project officer when they've been doing assessments, that there definitely is a lack of awareness about what their waste outputs are from some businesses. Some are actually great, but so we do have to do quite a bit of work in establishing what their waste outputs would be.
Yeah. Just to have one last question, and then we go for tea break. In terms of the accuracy of the data, I think there is a spin about, particularly in council work, I think it sometimes can be scared about the data or businesses share the data. I think it's really a data in the circular economy, more like a play game of the Japanese game Sudoku. You need some number to start with, and then you fill it into the gap. So don't get scared about all of that. It can be overwhelming when you get that data to get your roadmap or infrastructure plan or anything. So it's a great place to start. So I think my question is, as Peter mentioned, sounds like enormous amount of work. How did you find the engagement with business, particularly what's your engagement effort or what's your storytelling line for your business communities around the local government area, how you get their buy-in to get them on the portal to share the data?
So we haven't been actively engaging the business community because we don't have the resources at the moment, but we have applied for funding to try and continue this work. However, we did present it at Albury City has an annual circular economy event, industry event, where the feedback was excellent. There was a lot of interest. A lot of businesses independently reached out, particularly Forest One and a number of plastic recyclers who are searching for material. We also have a lot of businesses that reach out to our team regularly as well, who are looking for sourcing material. So, to have a platform that we can direct them to, say, here, have a look at this, they can start independently doing that work. But I do believe if we actually had resourcing to work directly with the business community, I think that would be highly beneficial, and I think it would be a game changer.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hayley, over to you.
Mine's not a question, Annie. Something's just come up and I'm going to have to run off sooner than thought earlier. So I was wondering if I could smash through the presentation.
Are everybody happy with that? We might.
If you guys want to take a tea break as well, that's totally fine.
If you want to go a tea break, go ahead.
Yeah, my colleague just needs me at 12.
Yeah, please. Are we happy with all of that? So I might make exclusive decision here. So please
so
go ahead,
sorry.
Hayley. No worries. It's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I'm not sharing your screen. Hayley's going to share a Bondi Junction Circular Economy roadmap with us. Again, I'm not reading the bio, but Hayley is a designer and she loves spending weekend jumping between harbor beaches or racing in regatta. Perfect. Awesome. So over to you, Hayley. Thank you.
Perfect. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Beautiful. Once again, apologies for that. A quick background on me. So I started my career, I guess, as an environmental consultant working for a large engineering firm, doing environmental approvals and compliance. And I realized while I was there that I was much more interested in sustainability. So I went and did a master's of sustainability, looking into the circular economy, and came back and got the job at Bondi Junction here at Waverley Council. So very grateful for this position, and thank you for listening to my presentation today. So Bondi Junction Circular Economy Roadmap. Is this clicking? Why am I not working? Okay, perfect. So our roadmap is grant funded by the New South Wales EPA through the Local Government Waste Solutions Fund. Eleanor Pratton is on this call, and just a quick shout out to Eleanor for getting this grant and setting everything up. So the aim is to just bridge the gap in understanding how a highly populated area can embrace circular economy principles in Australian context. And the goal is sort of bring together stakeholders within Bondi Junction to identify opportunities for collaboration, knowledge sharing, and improving resource efficiencies. And that presentation, both presentations done before, were fantastic, so thank you. But obviously the challenges that are faced within a regional context are very different to the challenges faced within an urban context. And Bondi, Waverley Council itself is very densely populated, 9.2 square kilometres, with 71,000 residents, expected to reach 80,000 in the next 10 years. So space is one thing that we don't have. So just looking at different ways to bring that all together. A few of you on this call have seen me present this before, so I'll just go through this really quickly, but I just wanted to touch on the importance of understanding your area, obviously, before you go through this. So with the funding from the EPA, we contracted MRA, and they went through and they did a materials flow analysis for us, just to help us understand the materials and waste flow through the junction. So as we can see, the majority of it comes from the commercial sector, accommodation, retail trade, healthcare, and social were the three major sort of areas that it comes from. Paper and cardboard, plastic, organics, food organics, unsurprisingly, were the three major, I guess, material streams, and that comes through using Bintrim data, using council data, using data from our working group partners as well. We were able to sort of gain an understanding of what is being recovered and what is being landfilled, and these are sort of the rough estimates for those. So then after that, we can have a look at the recovery percentages for everything. So once again, we can see our major stream of cardboard, but it has roughly, what's that, like an 80, almost a 90% recovery rate in Bondi Junction for paper and cardboard, whereas food, organics and unpackaged, packaged and unpackaged was the next highest, and there's a very low recovery rate. And this sort of was able to help us identify any potential circular economy hotspots within the junction, having a look at where this data is coming from as well. We also, in addition to that, to gain an understanding of what our businesses and residents understand about the circular economy, we put through a circular economy survey where we asked a range of different questions, some of the data that came out of that. So 71% have heard about the circular economy or know a little bit about it. 95% are concerned by waste generation. 87% recognise waste is influenced by what we buy. 88% are influenced by the sustainability and reusability of a product, and 65% do not know where to take items to be reused, resold, repaired or recycled within Bondi Junction. So taking all of this data, we sat and we had 3 meetings with our circular economy working group, which is made up by stakeholders within Bondi Junction, to sort of look at different opportunities on where and how we can help promote the circular economy. And one thing, this is the shared priorities that came out of those meetings. So meeting waste targets, engaging and upskilling the community, integrating circularity pathways, promoting local innovation and collaboration, working on better data collecting and metrics across the reporting sectors, and advocating for regulatory change. One key thing that came out of that was our council specifically within our context should not be, I guess, the change makers in this situation. We are the nexus between the government, the organisation, businesses and the community, and we should be really promoting that position that we have, because that's our superpower. So essentially we're matchmaking, and we're bringing in, I guess, organisations within the community, organisations into the community to try and promote local circular economy outcomes. So 3 ways that we're using this, I guess, matchmaking to help our local circular economy is through partnering with End Food Waste Australia, which we're partnering with them on 2 different things. So we're partnering with them on case studies where we've partnered with some local food-based businesses, a bakery and some cafes, and we're looking at their sector action plan, so the bakery sector action plan and the cafe sector action plan. These businesses are weighing their food waste for a week. They're implementing strategies that are in these sector action plans, and then weighing them again just to see if they've made any differences, which is good for us because we can build some local champions that we can take to other food-based businesses within the area to show people that people are making differences. They can tell us their top 3 tips for reducing food waste and saving money. It also builds upon the End Food Waste Australia database, which is good because there's not many New South Wales examples of that yet. They've got quite a lot in Victoria, but it's building, once again, Sydney-based examples and New South Wales-based examples that they can go and take, and they can also get an understanding on what the different strategies that are in place in these sector action plans that are outlined, which ones are helpful and which ones aren't helpful to different food-based businesses. And with the Precinct project, we're partnering with them. This one's outside of Bondi Junction, but we're just exploring different barriers and opportunities for local businesses to divert food waste from landfill prior to the incoming regulatory changes. And this is looking at options on whether smaller food-based businesses can potentially do joint partnerships for organics collections with businesses that are around them. Once again, different ways they can reduce food waste, and potentially exploring further out options like GoTerra or food dehydration for some hyper-localized food waste solutions. The second one that we're doing is business-to-business networking nights, and I'm going to use Sustainable Salons as an example because this is the one that we've got coming up soon. So we've partnered with Sustainable Salons, who I'm not sure if all of you know who they are, but if you haven't, you should definitely have a look at their website. They're fantastic. It's a husband and wife. They started this movement around 10 years ago now, and they're just helping different salons and barbers divert waste away from landfill as well. And I think it's up to 98% of waste they can divert away from hair to tinfoil to the chemicals to the plastic. And with a lot of those things, they take them back. With the hair, they can use them to create wigs. They can use the smaller offcuts of hair to create sacks to help clean up oil spills. They've also created this soil enricher for plants. They take the tin foil, they clean it off, they get it down, and they create almost like a tissue box out of tin foil that they can sell back to the salons. And with the plastic bottles and stuff as well, if you don't have a service where you just get the liquid topped up into drums that you already have, they can take those plastic bottles and they recycle them into a range of different things as well, including hairbrushes. So with this, we've got over 300 salons and barbers in Waverley Council LGA and about 30 in Bondi Junction. So we've invited all of them along, including Sustainable Salons, to come and do this big networking event where salons that already partner with them can talk about their experiences. Sustainable Salons can talk about what they're doing. We can talk a little bit about, I guess, the importance of this coming from multiple different directions to be able to enrich the circular economy, and also have a networking opportunity at the end. So these salons that may or may not have heard about the Sustainable Salons movement have direct access to them and direct access to, I guess, opportunities to partner with them. And obviously the goal out of this is to hopefully increase the number of sustainable salons and barbers within Waverley Council to collectively reduce the waste which is coming out of these small businesses. The third one that we've done is the In the Loop directory, and this one is targeting consumers. So out of our research, we realised there are already a lot of different pathways for people to engage and partake in the circular economy already in Bondi Junction. That I know of at the moment, there's 64 businesses that offer either a reuse, a refill, a repair, or a specialised recycling service, from shoes to sheets to e-waste to everything. So we've created like a one-stop shop with an interactive map where the community can go online, and if they do want to, I guess, partake in the circular economy in this way, they can come on, they can have a look, and they know where to go. And this one is to reduce that knowledge barrier. As we saw before, over 60% didn't know how to I guess reuse, recycle, refill within Bondi Junction, even though there are quite a few different opportunities available for them. So this, yeah, is to build awareness, reduce the knowledge gap, and the long-term goal is to sort of start shifting people's mindset of having a shopping centre as a one-way transaction and making it more of a dual-way transaction. So instead of coming into a shopping centre to buy a new t-shirt and then go home, you have an old pair of runners that you don't use anymore. You can bring your runners in, you can drop them off at Athlete's Foot or even Nike, where you can buy like a new t-shirt in Nike, and then you can go home. So try and sort of shift that paradigm of shopping centres, of consumerism, to make it more of a closed loop system as well. So these are different ways that we're trying to do this within Bondi Junction. As mentioned before, space is one of our biggest barriers, and trying to get as much as possible coming from the community side, the organisation side, and the business side. And some of the key learnings that we've got that have come out of that is to actively listen to the concerns and ideas and meet people where they are, because it's all well and good to have an idea. There are some fantastic ideas out there, but sometimes the I guess putting obviously those ideas into place, if people aren't interested or they're too scared away by the idea, obviously it's not going to take up. Reach out to businesses and organisations that could fill the gap. So with Sustainable Salons and End Food Waste Australia, both of those pretty much came with me cold calling our partners now and just talking to them about what they do and asking them whether they would be interested in partnering with Waverley Council and any of the things that we're doing. And as I think you are all well aware in this space as well, it's a lot about integrating resources and integrating knowledge. And one thing I found is people are more than happy to generally partner with you as well, because they're trying to achieve the same outcomes. So yeah, so it's integrating and implementing these innovative solutions and not competing with them. Many businesses we've found within Waverley don't want to be the first adopter. So this is why we're trying to create some local champions in the area, so we can take them across and we can show them, and we can show these other businesses that are like, oh no, it's too much, I'm just doing this by myself. We can be like, no, you're not. And here are some businesses that have already done this, have successfully done this, and this is how you can do it too. So to just try and, I guess, reduce that first adopting barrier away from it. And also explore your precinct or area where you are. Like I said, there are 64 businesses within Waverley Council that I didn't even know of before getting this job, where you can partake in the circular economy, and I'm sure there's a lot more. So yeah, you might be genuinely surprised by what is already out there, or the people that are already out there trying to do really good things. So yeah, just keep your mind open with it. Anyway, that is my presentation. Thank you. Sorry I rushed through it really quickly, and sorry to stop you all from going on your tea break as well, but that's what we're doing.
I think they all don't mind. Haley, it's an amazing presentation. I get so excited. I know you guys are doing amazing work. And when I engage with Haley, like, which one do you want to pick? I know, just pick anything. You guys doing lots of work. And it's interesting, like all the project you're doing, talk about the community practice, get everybody on board. And from consumer point of view, that's where you focus on behavior change elements as well. Are you sure how many people in your team to do all this work?
Me.
I can't believe we just only team of one. Well done.
And Sue's my boss. She's really supportive, and if I need other help with it, but no, it's we've got a lot of different people working on a lot of different things. But internally, my colleague Ali, she does all of the internal circular economy stuff, which is all about the procurement and the I guess embedding sustainability and circular economy into council processes. So I'm just community based and she's council based.
Yeah. Feel free to raise your hand, ask your questions if you are also a team of one doing all this work. I've been enjoying some coffee at the Bandai. It's really fascinating to say when you have your coffee in Bandai, some of them actually are talking about circular economy and doing the circular economy. It's really great to say some in the near future when we go for coffee or a pub, everybody joke about or talk about circular economy. It's that going to be really cool. Nicole, what do you think of it mentioned in the chat? Is that sounds and even better? It's really, I think what Haley's presentation, all the case studies she shared, is that. Do you think it's kind of a really transition broker space?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose council's not actually getting, from what I understand, Haley, council's not actually getting any money directly from any of these initiatives that you're doing. So in that regard, you're the independent enabler of all of this action. So yeah, I would say definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Well
Very
done.
inspiring, I must say. Yeah.
Rob, over to you.
Thanks. Great presentations today. And just wanted to ask a question about because engagement in this sort of projects costs a lot of time and it costs money, right? So how do you get to a point where that's paid for somehow, not by government, but how do you see that? And I don't know who can answer this question. How can we get that as sort of like a sustainable model working without all the government subsidies? Any ideas around that?
I don't know if I'm best placed to answer this one. It might be more an EPA question.
I think one of the things we are trying, Rob, just try to answer your question. We are also, thank you to EPA and most of us on this call also doing the Binchun program. So our Binchun program is 3 years. We are in the middle of this program and we're doing external evaluation for this. But about 6 months ago, we create a platform for businesses in the Binchun program. And let them, we just basically train them and particularly about that knowledge sharing elements. So we just share with everything we know to some of the champion businesses. And then they already have a network in there. We just need somebody to take that lead and then scale up in their local community or in their cluster or in their precinct, which Haley mentioned. And then I can already say that will change in one of the precincts. And I met one of the business owners said to me, you know what, I'm talking to this couple owners, how we can to buy some food waste processing equipment down one of the back of the one of the hospitality restaurants. So I think this is from my learning or that is basically how I can pass our knowledge to those people and let them to do the work because they are literally on the ground. Yeah. Tara.
Hi, I just wanted to pop in and say that the next round of local government waste solutions will be scheduled to be opening in September, and that was the fund that provided some support for the Haleys project. And as part of that grant, the guidelines are quite flexible. So if there are activities about embedding it into organisations or councils, some of those activities would obviously also be eligible under that grant. So I encourage you to have a look at the guidelines and reach out to the team. We're happy to have a chat about what would kind of sit under that program in the next round around embedding those activities as well.
Thank you, Tara. Beth.
Yeah, hi.
Go for it.
Robert, I just thought I'd add to maybe what everyone's been saying here, just around, how do you get that business case and you get the buy-in from, the business sector or your target audience, and if it's related to the economic value. I think this is an interesting question to explore in terms of, how do you really design a great business case, and what are the elements that really are a priority for your council? And, bringing money back in might be one, but, there's other values that I think we can tap into and look at things holistically. And that's where you can really demonstrate the long-term value of a project. So I think it's a question worth exploring, and maybe, Annie, we can take that on in terms of the network and include that in one of our online sessions. If you guys have some great examples of business cases and what types of elements you include, I'd be curious to hear about it. So that, and Annie, you might have some examples as well.
Yeah.
And Beth, sorry, I just want to add, so you could potentially see it as a part of the economic development work that council already does. But then if I look in our region, not all councils have economic development offices, and some actually have cut them recently because of budget constraints. So then you think, okay, where should that sit? Is council really the best place, or is it more on the business side? Yeah, it would be good to have a look at that. And because obviously in the end you do look at creating jobs. So we should always look at the economic driver for that one.
Yeah, 100%. And that's part of a circular economy as well. So we can definitely explore this further. That could be a little sub conversation, maybe. Annie, I don't know what you think, but we can.
I think this is the perfect timing. I think Rob always asks great questions and needed two great timing questions. That's really start a great conversation. What are we gonna do now? I know all of you on this call have lots of amazing case studies and thought through our amazing three speakers. Thanks again to Rebecca, Nicole, and Haley for your presentation and all great conversations so far. What are we gonna do is that we're going to put you into a breakout room. And then in the breakout room, what are we gonna do is two activities. The first one is about introduction. As we mentioned, this is really a safe platform for everybody to share, to connect. And you already experienced so many amazing resources available here for everybody to implement circular economy in your local government. So the first activity is really just your name, your role, a fun fact about yourself. And step one, what we're gonna do is really pick a spokesperson to share back some of the key insight from your conversation. And then I will bring you back probably about 12:20 to share some takeaways from the conversation that you have in the breakout room. And then third part is really talk about in your current position or resources, as we all, most of us team of one, and how you apply or implement some of circular economy in your local government, and some of the learnings from others as well. I think Esther will send you guys into your breakout room. And then thank you, Elizabeth, put that questions in the chat. Please copy, paste those activities.
I'm happy to. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, just on our key takeaways, it seemed like the three of us or four of us, we varied between members, took away similar things, just looking at our role in council as that kind of transition broker and as that linking and matchmaking. So we talked about that, and we talked about some of the wicked problems that we all have, but looking at them from maybe a new lens, or trying to start conversations with different people and in different ways. That's about it.
Awesome. So thank you. We might go to our group, Brooke, and then somebody can pick up next.
Sure.
Yeah,
thanks, Annie. I think in our group, to summarize it, our takeaways from the presentations were kind of around some of the data, like the seeing the Pecklet demo in action was really good, and thinking about that as a easier alternative perhaps to material flow analysis or those kinds of insights. And then we also enjoyed Hayley's presentation and the idea of networking nights with businesses and learning about the reuse directory and all of that. But then our conversation turned to working in councils or with councils, and how do you get buy-in within council? How, if you're someone who's carrying out small feasible projects on the ground, you can still get really valuable insights, and how do you feed them up to leadership so that circular economy can be on the radar a little bit more. And sometimes councils might need a little bit of education to start off with, just to get familiar with circular economy and the principles. And then we're talking about what we would like to do in future, and we'd love to see some how-tos about circular economy and specifically around procurement.
Thank you, Brooke. Anyone else would like to share? Peter? Oh, Helen.
Hi, sorry, I keep going offline, so I'll just put my camera off so I don't lose me. But basically, we chatted about being the matchmakers, so being the transition brokers. That need for really good data, and the data capture was really inspiring as well. So really understanding the waste streams, what's being generated from what sectors, what's being recycled, and what are our opportunities. We also talked about the fact that we've got all these different systems at the moment, and apps. So we've got, RecycleMate, we've got Planet Arc, we've got all these different things being created as well, all these different maps. We need to integrate all of these systems together. So we've got that interconnectedness, we've got that web, we've got that one-stop shop. So you can actually go in, and it's a connector for users and materials. So it's kind of all integrated in one place, because the issue with having multiples is A, it's confusing, B, we don't know who they all are, and C, the chance of them all being updated by all the parties that need to is low, and then they become defunct and we're wasting money again. But yeah, love it. Great presentations, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. If no one okay, sorry, Councillor Dida, you go ahead.
Hi, Annie. Thank you. I just thought that last comment about the lack of connectedness between all of the different things was a really important thing. And I hope that's not something councils can do individually, I don't think. I hope that's something the EPA and the federal, at a state and federal level, that really gets worked on to support people. Thanks. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I'm not sure, Beth and Elizabeth, you have anything to comment on that, but I think that's where EPA started to use this network platform to really get everybody in the same room, provide that safe, open connections and sharing. Sorry, Beth, over to you.
I was just going to chime in to say that, I think we're aware of that as an issue, and we haven't quite addressed it. But you know, the one benefit of the way we work in the EPA is we do stuff like this so we can hear your concerns. And we also have like a regional coordination program where we meet with a regional waste coordinator that represents the councils in their region so that we can work more collaboratively and try to, you know, understand some of those issues and, you know, maximize data systems and that kind of thing. So I think there's more to come in that space. I have talked to Rebecca heaps about that PECLET platform, to be honest, and we've also got the bin trim data, and you know, there's other private data capturing systems out there. So it is something that we would like to look at more holistically.
And I had a point that it came up in our conversation. It is about the data. Justine made a really good observation, which was these material flows are really incredible as they guide you to that material that's flowing through. But even just thinking about how you would go about getting that data, you can get some really good insights. You can think, okay, well, what in our region, who are the big manufacturers? What are the likely sources? So even if you don't have the, you know, material flow at hand, you can start your thinking by just, you know, scanning what's there. And then you can, as Annie said, you can Sudoku it and you can fill in the blanks, and you can make a case for filling in that data information.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Just mindful of time, I'm just quickly run last bit of the process. Can you get your phone out? Just
Work today is broken. We're all working in too many disconnected apps.
Where does that come from? Can you quickly scan the AI? Hey? The QR code. Would love to hear your feedback about today's session, and then we can have some improvement for the future. Here's only very quick 3 questions. Thank you. Wow, we have very good high rating. Thank you so much, guys.
Robert, you have a question?
A question, just a comment that I think there's a huge potential, and really council should be driving some of this work. Councils are already looking at net zero, and I think it's important that they understand that net zero cannot be, you cannot get to net zero if you don't look at circular economy seriously. And I think everyone has to understand that before you start then talking about circular economy and what that means. A lot of people know about net zero. Circular economy is a bit vague for a lot of people still.
It's a great
Thank
comment,
you, Robert.
Robert.
That's a great comment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all linked, isn't it? So we really need to approach things holistically.
Yeah. I will look at some resources, particularly tap into the relationship between circular economy and net zero. For me, it's really a vehicle to achieve net zero. Just have one more last question for you guys to vote. Last one. Any comments?
I might duck out, everyone. Sorry, I've got another meeting. Nice to see you all. See you next time.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Enjoy the breakout chat. That's great. I just wait for